I called the meeting to order for June 4th, 2025 of the Middleton Affordable Housing Trust at 6:04. And we will start with the minutes and then go on to the treasurer's update, giving a little bit room for our chair to arrive 5 to 10 minutes late to give him time to get here. So if we could look at the minutes, do we have minutes? What are they? You know, were the minutes attached? I don't remember seeing, they're the ones from, that we had from the,
April
April
2nd, and
the March.
April.
it's possible I
April.
might not have attached them. And if that's the case, we probably want to go ahead and postpone that, or I can
Well,
send
I'm
them
sorry,
around
did we
now.
do the February minutes were approved?
Yeah,
Yep.
February's already
March.
approved.
Just
It's
April.
April 2nd.
April.
Just April. I have
We
a.
don't have them, I don't think.
Okay, so if you all haven't, probably I didn't attach them.
No, I didn't see it as an
Yeah.
attachment.
Okay, I'll send them around, and maybe we can push that to the next meeting then.
Okay,
fine.
we will postpone April's minutes until the June meeting. So we,
July meeting.
Sorry about
July,
that.
I'm sorry, thank you, July 2nd meeting. So postpone until July 2nd meeting. Okay, so perhaps, Richard, you could take over for the treasurer's update for us?
Sure, so I left on the table for everyone a copy of the current update. The lower half, the light blue, the actuals, is the only thing that's changed. And what happened is we posted for March 9th, month 9, which is the month of March. Cash at that time was $303,423.14. We had a loss of interest of $365 because of market changes. But that is all.
Thank you. Let's see if there's really, at this point, I think, Megan, you're going to do the part, of course, from the Habitat for Humanities. That is yours, and also further planning for Middleton Home Repair Program. That's for, and then we'll be discussing the lending program. Would you like to begin, Megan?
So, my name is Megan. I'm the Executive Director of Essex County Habitat for Humanity. I've met a couple of you before, right? Some of you were not here. When was I here last? I think it was
Last year.
You were here for the planning board also. You were here last year for the planning board.
Last year, during the month of April, you were there.
Okay,
for
oh, so
us,
it wasn't
this
that
year's
long
planning
ago.
board.
Okay, great. Feels like longer. I go out and do a lot of these. They get a little jumbled in my head, so bear with me. Thank you for having me back again. I'm excited that you are interested in pursuing this. We have been doing a lot of work in our critical home repair program. If I am not close enough to a microphone,
You should be good.
I think Paul will say something. Is that right?
Right there.
Okay.
Yep.
So what I want to do is kind of give just a real quick rundown of our critical home repair program, just in case anybody isn't familiar with it, but I won't do much on it because I know most of you are pretty familiar with it. But just to recap, our critical home repair program, we work with in single-family owner-occupied homes and in condos, working with households earning less than 60% of area median income. And so just for context, that is for a family of 4, that's a family earning less than about $98,000 a year, just to kind of give you a frame of reference on that. And of course, it varies based on household size.
Could you repeat that number again?
Yeah, for a family of 4, it's about $98,000 a year is 60% AMI. Although what I will tell you in this program in particular, our new home ownership program, folks tend to be at the top of that income range. For this program, we tend to see folks who are really at the low end of the range. Most of the applicants who come in on this program, their income, I'm amazed that people are living in Essex County on $22,000. They're living off just Social Security in most cases. So living off of $20,000 a year, $24,000 a year, it is how someone lives on that amount of money in Essex County is amazing to me. But that is the cap, is the 60% of area median income. And it is not limited to elderly or disabled homeowners. We work with anyone, but I will tell you that the program is primarily serving elderly and disabled homeowners, and that is just a nature of to buy a home in Essex County and then need this program, in most cases, something has gone wrong, that either they have paid off their mortgage, they've lived in their home for many, many years, and then, they're 80 years old and suddenly their income is no longer enough. They're living off just Social Security and their income is no longer enough to keep up when something goes wrong. Or in some cases, we just did one with a woman in her 40s who has muscular disease, and she's got her 3 kids and she's divorced. And so it is those types of situations that we are working in primarily with this program. And the program, the range of projects that we're doing are typically $5,000 to $30,000 for this program. We have put a $30,000 cap on the program since we last met. We did one project this past year that ended up being a $150,000 project. It really made a huge difference for that one homeowner in Gloucester. A tree had come through her house and she really needed all of that work that was done. But when we look at how many people there are across Essex County that need the help, we have just decided our resources and the community's resources are limited in such a way that we are going to limit the scope of our work to $30,000 projects per homeowner, just because there is so much need across the communities. So as we are getting more experienced in this program, we are learning a little bit and deciding, okay, here's where we're going to focus this work. So the things that we do, sound condition of the home, things like roof repair, siding replacement, and these are some of the pictures I'm showing you are things that we've done along the way. So if somebody doesn't have safe egress from their home, we're replacing the stairs and deck to get them into their home. Weatherization and energy efficiency can be done, although I will tell you, in no case have we actually done that. We refer that out to Mass Save or to NASCAP or to Action Inc. There are other programs that can do that, that have the money to do that. So it's on our list, but we don't actually end up doing it.
You manage it and just have them do the work, or?
Well, Action Inc. and NASCAP, and
Yeah.
I don't know which one is in Middleton. Does anybody know?
I think it's Action Inc.
It's
Action Inc. We partner with them and they can manage that.
Okay.
So actually, they are great to work with. They are, there are times where they won't come in and work in a home because they'll say like, look, the stairs aren't safe to come in, or the electric isn't safe there. You guys have to come do some work before we'll do the energy efficiency.
Yep.
Or the homeowner will reach out to us about energy efficiency or a heating replacement, an upgrade, and we'll say, actually, why don't you have Action Inc. do that and we can do this other part. So, the two agencies work together. We're working with the same homeowners, but we're sort of figuring out who's got the resources and who's best at what in this. I think it makes a lot of sense to use the resources that everybody has as wisely as possible. This is a lot of what our work is: critical health, life, safety issues, code violations. So electrical, plumbing, heating. You'd be surprised that people will live for a year without hot water in Essex County, but some of the folks that we've been out doing, work for are. There are folks that do not have a working kitchen, that do not have a working refrigerator, that do not, Essex County, it's amazing what people are living with here, now, today. Heating system replacement, and again, sometimes we're referring that out to other agencies, or sometimes we're subcontracting it. It depends on what the situation is, if it is us doing it, or if it's a referral out. Again, looking at who's got the best resource to get it done. And then this is a lot of the work as well, helping either older adults or folks with a disability to be safe in their homes. So a lot of ramps, bathroom conversions, kitchen conversions as well, making sure that someone can safely be able to navigate in their home. So that, and sometimes it is, you know, just replacing falling apart concrete steps with steps that are more accessible. And it is not a full ramp, you know, like you might imagine. It is just figuring out how to make it more safely accessible for the person. It may not be full ADA compliance if that is not what the homeowner needs in this situation. So we're really able to look at what does the homeowner need to be able to maintain safely at home. Here's our process. So we get an inquiry. We have a form on our website. Some of the homeowners fill that out. Sometimes it comes to us from a social worker. We also, our director of housing operations goes and sits at the Council on Aging sometimes, or works directly with the Council on Aging in the communities. We then, once we have that inquiry, we evaluate the basic criteria. For us, that is, does this person actually own the home? Because you'd be surprised about who's a little bit confused about, do they own the home or are they a tenant? Does somebody else have their name on the deed? There are some things like that that are a little bit confusing. Does their income qualify? Some of those things. We get all of the document, if they actually own the home, and have the type of work that it is the type of work that we do, then we collect a full application with all of the documentation that we need. Because we don't want to have somebody go through and fill out all of the application if it's going to be something that's not the type of work that we do, or something that is, you know, they actually, you know, it's something that a homeowners association should take care of, not something that they are responsible for. So before we collect all the documentation, we figure out, is this something that we would actually do? In that documentation, we are checking to make sure that their assets are beneath the asset cap. We are checking to make sure that they have homeowners insurance in place. We will not work on a home that does not have homeowners insurance in place. We are checking to make sure that their incomes is below the limit. So we're checking all of these things to make sure. Then we go out and do a site visit. We put together the proposal. I approve that proposal. And then we go ahead and go out and do the work, hire the subs, get all the permits in place. All of that is needed. And then we are invoicing the community for that work that is done. So that is our typical process for how we are working in most of our communities.
Do you have pre-approved subs, or do you go out for bid all the time? Or?
We have subs that we are working with regularly. I wish there was a world where we were going out to bid and 3 plumbers were bidding on every project. I don't know what world that is, but if you can get 3 plumbers to come to your house and offer a bid on every project, you are doing better than we are right now. So there are subs that we work with consistently on the projects that we're doing. And, you know, we, you know, there are some that will work in different parts of the service area. Some folks will come, you know, to North Andover, but not Hamilton. Some are, right. So the geography of it matters as well.
So I assume you have some communities, some municipalities that work with you on this?
Yes.
And how does that change if let's say Middleton wanted to get involved with it? How does that flow change, or does not change?
It changes a little bit, like in Peabody, because theirs are federal funds, so that's a little bit more onerous a process because, well, it's federal money. So, but this is sort of our standard process that we are going forward with from here as we're, yeah.
Quick question.
Yeah.
If there were folks from Middleton who wanted to join onto a contractors list,
Yes.
Is there a form? Is there a process that we
No,
can
but
help?
we would love that referral, yes,
Okay.
yes. So we would definitely welcome referrals. We're always looking for qualified subs for projects. I mean, that would be a welcome thing for us, so.
Because my thinking is, if we don't have it today, maybe as part of the Affordable Housing Trust program, we invite contractors in Middleton to apply,
Yes.
and then they go through some sort of vetting process, and then they can be the first port of call
Yes.
for specific activities. And when it's not within the pool, then we can go outside and say, we'll bring in these other contractors.
Yes, we would
Okay.
happily welcome qualified referrals for subs, absolutely. Yeah.
What is a normal time frame from when that inquiry comes in and you evaluate the basic criteria to work starting?
The biggest delay is how long it takes the homeowner to gather all the documentation. So you would be surprised how long it might take a homeowner to be able to get proof of their insurance, to be able to get their bank statements, to be able, like some of these things that might be easy for you to do, might be, and some of the homeowners may be in and out of a hospital, maybe they have some other complications
So
in their
once
lives.
the application is submitted with all the correct documentation,
Yes.
what are you talking about time frame?
Generally 2 weeks or so. I mean, but then it depends on our work queue because, like North Andover, for example, which is where we are working now, is not the only place that we're working. We've got, 7 projects backed up in Peabody right now. So we're working on hiring more staff. And if we were to bring Middleton also on, we're trying to balance how many towns we're working with and what is the consistency of this going forward, because one of the big communities that we've been working with, Peabody, is relying on federal funding. And I don't know if you're watching the news right now, but I'm not super confident that that money is going to be there next year. So we're trying to balance out, how much staff do we bring in for this, for communities that are using affordable housing trust funds versus communities that are using federal funds to do this work.
Another question is, how do you determine, priority of,
That's a great question.
of what all of a sudden,
Yeah.
someone gets disabled and they need a ramp at their house?
Yeah.
Is that priority, or is somebody going,
So
how do you
we
determine the process?
we are pulling up, if someone has an immediate safety concern, we're moving that sort of to the front of our queue. There is a woman in Peabody right now who is using a walker and whose front concrete stairs are falling apart. And we have said, you know what? She's 5th in our queue, but she's going to tumble down the front stairs if she waits until 5th in the queue. So we're pulling her up, So it's not we don't promise people that because you're first in the queue, you're going to get
Right, so
done in that time frame.
it's not basically like a lottery all of a sudden.
It is
people are
not.
taken out.
It is not. We
it's
are
what's
using
determined of what is going to be
we're
safety,
using our
what's
best
healthy,
judgment.
what's health.
Yeah, we're looking at safety first, then we're looking at a code violation, if something, we're trying to get this, and then we're looking at, if somebody's got water intrusion and rot on their home, yes, that needs to get addressed, but I'm more concerned about the little old lady who's going to tumble down the front stairs of her home first before the water intrusion and the rot, which is important and we need to take care of, but in order.
Right.
So the agreement is between, it's funded by, in this scenario, the Middleton Affordable Housing Trust.
Yep.
But the agreement would be between you and Mr. John Q. Public that you're working on their home.
So we sign an agreement that we will do this work with the Affordable Housing Trust. There's a fee that's associated with it for us doing the work. The affordable house, we also sign an agreement with the homeowner specifically about the scope of work. So we sign an agreement with the homeowner that says, we are going to replace your front stairs and do this bathroom modification. Here are the specifications to which we are going to do that. But the financial piece of the agreement is with the Affordable Housing Trust.
So
So-
I would say the reason why I'm asking this question is, we've talked about scale and size of projects.
Yes.
Now, if you're going in and putting grab bars up and
Yes.
other items, it's a very small project.
Yes.
We would view that as, we pay the amount, it's immediately forgiven, hope things are great.
Yes.
A larger scale project, we have talked in this committee about some type of lien
Yes.
that would occur. However, a lien that if they stay in the property for a certain amount of time would expire
Yes.
without a need for a payback. Now,
Yes.
if a lien was put on and 6 months later they sold the home, that would be paid back. Do you have, some standard operating processes around that you would recommend?
Yes.
Because we've kind of jawboned on
I
that.
said that to Carmen.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I don't know
We
if
did
you
get it.
shared that with everybody.
Ann did share it. You might
did?
not have
But,
seen it.
Okay.
my question is, also to add to that, how often are you seeing the need to do a lien, and how often are you seeing just the,
We have not seen any simple grab bars and that type of thing.
Okay.
No, zero. And I'm surprised because I thought that most of the requests would be for some of the smaller things, but they are not. And I was thinking about why is it that when we go in, there's multiple things that need to get done. We're not walking in and seeing.
everything's great and the bathroom sink isn't working?
Right.
It's,
It is a lot. And I think the reality is probably like, I don't know about your house, but I live in a 110-year-old house that has a whole bunch of things, right? But I imagine if I were really financially struggling, all of those things would not be getting taken care of and would just be building up and building up and building up to the point where I really needed help. And so by the time that they're asking for help, it's not just one thing. It's like the
so more often than not, you're going into a house to do an assessment for a bathroom issue and you're leaving with a recommendation of 5 different items.
Yeah. Okay, these stairs are also unsafe, so most of our projects, some of our projects are 7,000 or so. We have gone in and done some that are just a ramp. I would say the only ones that are just a ramp, the only ones that are very small like that are when someone has a sudden illness or sudden injury that requires a home modification. And so we're going in and doing just that one
Yeah,
thing.
understood.
But those are rare. Most of them are multiple things. Yeah. And most of them are more around the $20,000.
Is there a actual dollar figure where you see affordable housing trusts are saying this figure and below, it's just going to be forgiven, this figure and above is going to be leaned?
We have not, and we're fairly new at doing this in this way.
As are we.
So, and we're not seeing very small projects. So I haven't seen a single project that's less than $5,000.
Okay.
And I think
Well, if
that-
anybody's done work in their home lately, it's pretty damn impossible to
It's
do
pro-
anything
yeah,
for under
yeah, I'm
5,000.
thinking about, when I have a handyman come to my house, what he charges, And so,
Yep.
it's,
Oh, I get it.
yeah. And so when you're using public funds, you want to make sure that there's that restriction placed on there. So,
Yeah, I think we're trying to figure out where we draw that line.
right, I hear you.
And I don't want to draw the line here and then 2 projects later, move the line over to here,
Right.
you know?
Right. Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, but I would say we're not seeing any requests for $2,000. So,
And I've talked about this with the board previously, so a lot of duly eligible Medicare and Medicaid health insurance plans are providing some much limited services to this, like ramps, grab bars, and so forth. Are you also, when you're working with an individual, trying to find out if they actually have another benefit that may supplement and/or support this?
we are not trying to refer out, like I am not an expert in that, but there is, like if it is a larger project, there's, the name of it isn't coming to top of my mind, but there's a Massachusetts home modification loan program that can support larger home modifications. So we're referring for additional resources in that type of situation. But I'm not familiar with that program, so if I can get the information on that.
That's what I do for a
from
living.
you.
I'll explain it to you at some
Okay.
point. I'd be happy to.
Great.
Because I think you'll
We
find
do.
I think you'll find with some of your members, mostly older, lower income,
Yeah.
that may be enrolled in a plan that is actually going to provide some things that can probably supplement.
Supplement, great. Yes, so we do try, just like I was saying with the heating referrals and all, you know, we try and connect people
Yep.
with whatever services they may
Understood.
need. Especially if it's not ones that we offer, because I think that's only helpful to everybody. So our basic staffing on this, we have a director of homeowner services who handles sort of all the work with the homeowners. She's the direct person who works with them. She also handles all of the paperwork around it. We have a construction supervisor who's full-time just in critical home repair, and then our finance person who makes sure that all of the insurance and everything is in place, all of the contracts are done, every sub who works for us has all of his insurance, that all of that is handled correctly.
In the communities that you're doing this, are the communities waiving the permit fees?
Oh, no, we've been paying those. I
Well, the
think.
reason why I ask is, like, the town of wherever issues a permit for $100,
Right.
and then the town of wherever pays for the total cost of that project, which
Yeah.
includes the permit fee. So it's kind of like you're taking the money from this pocket. putting-
Like when we do
It's
new,
a process, people don't be deviate from the process.
No, I know.
right, when we do new construction, I always ask the town to waive the construction, the permit fee for new construction, but we haven't been asking them to waive it for this. That's a great point, maybe we should. These are the communities that we are working in currently. And just a couple of we just did a bathroom modification here. And we've done a lot of work in Peabody. This is the mobile homes in Peabody. And this is an elderly couple we replaced, so they had safe means of they could go downstairs to their basement to do their laundry and get out safely of their basement. They're in their 80s, but still get up and down the stairs, but the stairs were rotted. And just a couple of happy homeowners. Happy to answer anything else that you've got.
From the time a project is started or initiated, how long, and I know you said you have a queue and everything else like that, what is the typical time frame for it to be completed? So if it starts in, let's say, November of one year, do you think it's January, February of the next year, or?
No, I would say most projects are running about 3 weeks. Some are shorter, some are a little bit longer. It really depends, and you know, some may be just subbing out to a roofer who is there and replaces the roof, and there's roofers, you know,
Amazingly.
they're like 2 days, you know, they're incredible. So it really depends on what the project is. So we do have volunteers who help with our projects. So we generally have 1 or 2 skilled volunteers who help on each of our projects. We don't use, we don't bring in a team of insurance agents like we might on a new build construction site, but we do ask like one or 2 of our skilled construction volunteers to come to help.
I have one dumb question.
I don't think it'll be a dumb question.
I do. Why wouldn't somebody, a Middleton community or any community, partner with you as opposed to do it on their own?
Well, I think that some communities have a historical program in place that they think is running very well, and so why change something that's working? You know, and I totally agree with them. If they have a program in place that's working, don't change it, you know?
Yep.
So, but I will tell you, right now, we're getting lots of requests
Yeah.
for this.
I would think so.
So, yes.
So
Anybody that's got money in their affordable housing trust right now is interested.
So you've talked about capacity. If we made a decision quickly and decided we wanted to go forward with you all on this,
Yeah,
do you have capacity now?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
What we don't know, and we've talked about this as well, is like, if we build it, will they come? And what is I have a feeling the need is much bigger than we probably think. For example, we have a program going on right now in the town through our fire department. They are visiting the home of individuals, a lot of elderly individuals and so forth, but any home, and they're checking for smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. Chief was before my select board last night stating that he's amazed how many homes of elderly in this town didn't have a carbon monoxide detector. So they're putting those in. Those are opportunities as staff are in there to see that there's issues of finding out somebody's having trouble. Now, we have a fabulous council on aging, and we even have a more fabulous assistant director of council on aging that's going to be starting soon, doing a lot of outreach work. We have a great veteran service officer.
Yes.
And we are very tied in with the schools and other programs to ensure, as we are identifying families and individuals in need. We also have a program in this town that, through dollars that were bequeathed to us decades and decades ago, that we provide assistance around fuel assistance, heating and cooling assistance, electrical assistance, groceries at Christmas, groceries at Thanksgiving, et cetera. So we kind of have a potential pool
Yes.
to work in, but
Yeah.
when you've seen these kick off in a town like Andover, North Andover,
Yeah.
Danvers, have you seen an all of a sudden like boom surge?
Here's what I would say. It entirely depends on the relationships and how much door opening is done for us. We can put ads in the newspaper and post stuff on Facebook and put it in church newsletters and what have you. But if we don't get help opening that door, then it goes nowhere. It makes so much more difference if the assistant director of the Council on Aging says, oh, Sophia, the Habitat for Humanity has this great program, here's the form, or here's the info, you should, it will make.
And you talk about this great program that you do in conjunction with the town of Middleton. So
Right.
so you help that
Right.
individual understand that this isn't just
This-
an
the-
outside
the
organization.
town of
This is another
Middleton-
organization
Yes,
with Middleton.
The town of Middleton just set up this program with Habitat, and, you know, I think it'd be perfect. I think it could help, you know. And so that makes all the difference in the world. In communities where we don't have that, it's crickets. In community, it doesn't matter how much money we have set aside. If we don't have that kind of relationship, it is hard to get it going.
So Megan, I was going to suggest that if you're speaking to people and they have any doubts, please reach out to me directly.
Okay.
I'm happy to jump on any phone call obviously if it's from the Council on Aging, I'll let the director and assistant director deal with it. But if they need representation from this group, Brian, I'd need to get you and the team to clear it, but I'll be very happy to
Absolutely.
represent this team with homeowners, etc., to get them brought up to speed on what the program is. And maybe we can even put something on our website about what it means for this program.
And our
It's on
community.
the town website.
And our committee here is getting ready to embark on a whole, like, public education campaign around the Affordable Housing Trust, what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish. This is the first big program. We've got a pretty robust town Facebook page. We do a lot of postings. We have a very robust community Facebook pages as well. But we also have our own municipal light department that we have the opportunity to put flyers in electric bills.
But also the Council of Aging newsletter.
Council on Aging newsletter that goes out to hundreds and hundreds of homes. So we have different opportunities to actually pretty quickly communicate what this program looks like. We were just trying to get our arms around, like, are we going to get inundated, or is it going to be crickets, or?
You know what we can do too, Brian, is at the next town meeting, we should obviously have
Yeah.
a presentation to the community
Agree.
about what the Affordable Housing Trust is and what we are trying to do. I think a lot of, you get like 200, 300, 400 people at that meeting.
Or you put something controversial on the ballot and you get 800 people.
We're trying to get 3A passed, it has been.
Failed twice here.
It's passed once, it's failed twice, it hasn't failed, we're going back again next week in Ipswich, so it's,
It failed twice? Was it twice it failed, or?
Ipswich failed once, passed once, it's going back.
Going for the third time.
Third time, because they did a citizen's petition or whatever, so.
Yeah.
So
Trying to-
I would expect.
Can I ask
Yeah, oh,
about
yeah.
a budget? What
Yes.
is sort of, what have you seen, like small end, top end? What do you do when you run out of money?
Oh, for a municipality?
Yeah, if we're working with you, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's up to you within the
Okay.
scope of sort of what you have available and
Yeah.
what we want to set aside for this. I will tell you, North Andover did 150,000 to start, and Danvers did 50,000 to start. So Danvers, we went through the first 50,000. I need to go back to them and report. I just haven't gone back there yet. We did 3 projects for them in like the first 4 months, and we're out of money. So I need to go back to them and say, thank you, here's what we did, and would you like us to do more? So, it's up to you.
In terms of signing any memorandum of understanding, I know Jackie isn't here. I'm trying to figure out how quickly we can get this started if we decide to go ahead, Brian. What would that look like?
I think the timing would look like this. So we have a draft, an example of an agreement that you have, I believe, with North Andover,
Yeah.
which I think we would probably want to talk as a board about certain items in there, like the question I asked around, at what point do we forgive? And I say in North Andover, I think it's like a 7-year time frame. So I think as a board, we would have to talk about that, but I think this is a good template. Secondly, our town council would want to review this as well.
Against our bylaws.
Yeah, and this committee has authority over the dollars that are in here. We are not required, this is not required town meeting authority or anything as such. So we have the authority over that. So we could actually move
Forward
pretty
with it.
quickly on this. And, I mean, I'm not going to speak for the rest of the board, but I don't want to manage this ourselves because we're either going to have to rely on town staff who have a full-time job to manage something, and when you ask people to manage something on the side of the desk, it's unfair to them and it's unfair to the process. Secondly, that's why we're asking you so many questions about what does the time frame look like when somebody walks through your door or submits all the paperwork?
Right.
It would be hard for us to turn this around in 2 weeks.
Right.
Never mind, who would we have do the work, like
Right.
find the vendors? So
Right.
I will tell you, this is the right, for me, the right path for us to be going is with you all.
Yeah.
And now that I know that you have the capacity, we have the funding, we have the will, and I actually think we have the need. So what I would recommend is we will have our council look at this, but we
Yes.
will also, as a board, talk about, are there items in here that we want to address in terms of time frame, 7 years, 6 years, 8 years, whatever the case is. But other than that, I think most of this is pretty boilerplate.
Yeah, yeah.
And this one has been executed with
Yes.
North Andover,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
basically, this was the
Yep.
final
Yeah,
dot.
yeah, yep. And Chris G., who was the general counsel for HLC, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, chairs their Affordable Housing Trust. So he helped us draw that
Okay.
up as well. We wanted something that we could sort of use in every community as we go
Right.
forward
Like
on
boilerplate.
this. So, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
So what would be reasonable for homeowners? What would be reasonable for communities? What would be reasonable for habitat as we think about how to make this work sort of across our
Yeah, I've
community?
talked to a few building inspectors about this here, and they say it's pretty much boilerplate when it comes down to permits and everything that needs to get done.
tried
It takes a full scope of everything and just solidifies it, makes it easier for everybody of what's going on. I've talked to some building inspectors, and I've been in the building trade for almost 30 years of my life, and it's actually, the way it's written out is actually it's a very easy contract for somebody to actually review and go, yeah, okay, this is good.
Great. We tried. Yeah, but
So, one question on page 4 of your North Andover contract. So, it looks like the Affordable Housing Trust in North Andover allocated $150,000. I have no idea what their budget balance is.
yeah.
I'm assuming it's a little bit higher than us because we've only been in existence for about a year.
Okay.
And we have gotten 2 years of allocation from town meeting, but, you know, we expect we're going to continue to get allocations from town meeting
Yeah.
through our Community Preservation Act.
Yeah.
But we have not asked for direct allocation from town meeting / from our tax base yet.
Yeah.
I know the CPA it's all taxes, but, so under this, if I'm looking at this, there is an $850 per project
Yep.
plus 15% of that amount that's allocated.
Yep.
So is the 15% like an annual fee?
Oh, no, that's per project.
So if the project
it's
is
it's
$10,000,
It's 15%
1,500
of that.
plus an
plus
850
Yep.
project fee, which
Exactly.
probably covers everything that happens before the first nail is baked.
Exactly.
Got
You
it.
figured out. Yep.
Okay.
You're reading that exactly right.
Okay.
And if we don't do a single project in Middleton, then it's $0 cost. I mean, that's,
Have you had somebody come in that is like, here's the threshold of being eligible, and they're just a smidge over, but you know there's a huge need? Have you had an affordable housing trust that has done any types of exemptions or?
we haven't had anybody come in that's, it really, I don't know why, but through this program, people are coming in way under. They're not coming in a smidge over. Not.
Okay.
So, the other thing that people sometimes ask about, and yet nobody here did, but I'll just mention it, is the asset cap on this. So asset cap, the household can have $75,000 in assets if they are under the age of 55, $550,000 in assets if they are over the age of 55. And the rationale on that,
What are you counting as assets?
not the primary home,
Are you counting a vehicle as an asset?
no.
So basically, you're using like a Magi, what is used but on a gross income and a gross asset allocation.
The state has a very specific list of
Yeah.
what counts as assets, but everything in their retirement accounts does count as assets that could be liquidified, is that the right word? Liquidated? Liquidated. Thank
So
you.
if they
I knew
had,
something was
if they
wrong
had a
there. I was
small,
like,
if they had a
that's
small
not-
401, if they had a small 401k.
If they have a 401k that could be.
But what if
liquidated,
they were not of the age of being able to draw from their
It
401?
does not matter. That counts. So,
Can borrow
like,
against
we
it.
have someone right now who's like 30 years old and gonna buy a house from us. She has $74,000 saved already in her 401k. And we said, do not save a penny more until you buy the house, because you will not qualify to buy the house if you're over the asset
The
cap.
allocation wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, the state has a really strict formula on that. So, and the rationale is obvious. If somebody's got $1 million sitting there, use your own darn money to repair your house, not the town's money. I mean, right?
Correct.
The 850 and the 15.
Have you had requests come in that you didn't have capacity for or the expertise for? How would you handle that? So if somebody wanted something esoteric that is required from a safety standpoint that none of your contractors do you turn that application down?
Give me
Or-
an example.
I don't have one exactly right now.
Okay.
But I'm thinking of if there's a specific thing that you don't have the contractors to do, would you go find them? Or would it be up to the town to,
I think we would either find them or come up with a solution or say, no, that's not something we can do. We've never sent it back to the town to say
Okay.
that's on you.
okay.
But
So and I know you talked about this earlier, if somebody comes in,
I guess without an example, it's hard for me.
Sure.
as part of the project is something heating system related, that would be maybe more of an Action Inc.
Yes.
type. So you will actually refer that to Action Inc.
Yeah.
Action Inc. would work through us, but that would not be part of the project that you're managing?
Action Inc. has money. They have.
Well, I
have-
understand that.
They
but-
have the funds to do it.
So what I'm saying is like, say the project is $20,000,
Yep.
but then the boiler needs to be upgraded, which looks to
Oh,
be
it's
another
separate.
10,000.
Yeah.
That doesn't get added onto your 20.
Exactly. You're right. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'm happy to answer any questions. I just know that you have other things on your agenda, and I don't want to hog all your time, but I love to talk about this stuff.
So I think what's going to happen very quickly is we're going to be moving towards entering an agreement with you. Again, I can't speak for the whole board, but I think this is the direction we're heading. We just have some discussions we have to do around, yeah, and then you'll be the primary point of contact.
Initially, Ariani is our Director of Homeowner Services,
Okay.
so she will be the primary contact. She's out with a medical thing today. But I'll get everything set up, and then I hand it off to her.
So like, if our council has questions, it'll be,
I'll take it
Okay.
with the legal counsel. Yeah.
okay,
Could I
perfect.
also ask that you send, Ann, if I may, that slideshow that you did,
Oh.
if you could send a link to,
Absolutely.
or it's a PDF, I don't know if it's a PDF, you could send it to Anna and she can distribute it to us?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, because we
Can-
may need that to give the councils,
Yeah,
I don't know if
yeah,
they
yeah.
want to see something.
Can we also work on a playbook between the two organizations so that we know if people come to us directly, how to get you guys involved and vice versa? If there's a rebuttal or there's further information required, how is that handled?
Yes.
So that, people who come to the board or the trust in future years, they know exactly how to work with
Yep.
you and your team.
And if we did a informational session at the Council on Aging,
Yes.
you would be able to have somebody from your program come
Ariani
up.
goes out and does those all the time. Yep.
Perfect. Okay.
Yep. That's
Very
part of
nice
her gig.
conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
This
coming.
is exciting. Thank you.
Yes, this will be great.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And apologize for being late.
You did that.
Difficult week. Happy you were able to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Have a good night.
You
Have a
too.
good night.
So, I know folks have, I'm not sure how much folks have had an opportunity to go through the North Andover agreement. Okay, so, I think there's some items in there that, we as a board have to talk about of, do we want it to look the same? Do we want it to look different? One of the areas here, specifically is, about the forgiveness, like how long does that, when does it go from being a grant to a loan, and when is that loan forgiven? And I think we've talked around this a lot in past meetings, but I think we've got some examples here with North Andover. So what I would recommend, if this is comfortable with the board, I'd like to take the agreement and give it to our council, have our council look at it as written. If there's anything in there that either he or she, I'm not sure who will be doing it on our behalf, anything that's giving them angst. If there's nothing that's giving them angst, then I recommend at our next agenda that we finalize any of the language. And I'd ask you between now and the next meeting, review those. If there's anything in there that you think we should be addressing differently.
But do you want us to make a motion this evening to hand this over to council?
Yes, I'm going to ask for,
A motion?
yeah, I'm going to ask for both a motion and a feeling of the board if this is the direction we want to go. But, so that would be the next step. Council would say, good, better, and different. These are areas I have some concerns. We'll log that if there's no concerns. Over the next several weeks, if there's items in here that you think should be differently, I'd ask, get those to me. I can share those with the council as well. And then at our next meeting, we're probably going to go from having a discussion and a vote tonight of we want to do something to an affirmative vote, which will then turn into an actual signed agreement with
Habitat. Yeah.
and do I think we need to sign the agreement and then kick this off 15 minutes later? No, I think what we can do at our next meeting is also really talk aggressively how we're going to market this. If it's going to be Ariane?
Yeah, Ariane.
Ariane coming in, doing some sessions, do we just, as a committee, decide we want to have a community forum on this? Do we, let's think about that, lock that down at the next meeting as well.
Cost of direct mailings might be an interesting
Yeah.
one.
A what? Couldn't hear you
A direct mailings,
Oh,
if we
okay.
can
Okay.
identify the universe of
Sure.
you know, homeowners from our GIS.
Yeah. And then to Maria's point, we have to figure out the amount that we want to allocate. I don't think we have right now,
I would think
230.
200, let's call it 300,000.
To do 100,
Yeah,
make a statement.
yeah, I agree. And
The other
there's-
thing too is what I have a big issue is the forgiveness. Like, we all have to come up with, okay, well, we say, all right, if it's somebody aging in place, it's, how do we do this? All right, we'll give them a, $10,000, $12,000 loan when the family goes to sell the house, it gets paid back. Or like Brian was saying about the forgiveness, all right, we just say no, nothing with interest, and we get paid back, or we just give it to them, or something like that. We got to figure out exactly how we want to word that, because in there it shows a certain amount of years
They do, yeah.
they do on a yearly thing. If we want to say, all right,
Based
well,
on an amount,
a certain amount,
Yeah.
you don't have to pay any interest on it, but yeah, when all of a sudden, God forbid, Brian passes away and his son wants to sell the house, and you took advantage of this and got a $15,000 loan, that loan gets paid back, without interest, something like that. We have to figure it out, because we just don't want to, I understand.
And I
we
would,
have this money, but I don't
I
want
would
to
expect
all of a
our,
sudden just give the money away and not
yeah,
expect
I would
anything
expect
to
our
come.
council has some experience with
Right,
some other
absolutely,
communities that are
right.
doing similar things. I know our council supports other towns that have affordable housing
Maybe
trusts.
you can tell them that's one
Yeah,
of our
so
biggest things.
we'll see if council has some insight of what he or she has seen in
Right.
other communities
We'd
as
like
well.
examples.
That was-
But again, I think in the end, this board has the ability to make a decision that we think is right as well.
Right.
So let's think long and hard about that.
So,
So I would entertain a motion for us to move forward in the process with the Essex County Habitat for Humanity, and I would also ask for that motion to include a dollar amount that we would be allocating toward that opportunity.
I'll make a motion to, as Brian stated, have a council review this template that was provided by Habitat for us to move forward. And I think, Richard, you said 100
Yeah,
based on,
my motion was $100,000.
Okay.
Initial funding.
thank you. And also to have council kind of give us a little bit more examples about the forgiveness, since there's just one example here, maybe they can give us a couple
Yep.
of options.
Okay, so we have a motion. Sounds like we have a second from Richard. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, if any? Okay, that's unanimous.
Correct.
Okay,
Excellent, that's a big step.
this is great.
It's a good day.
That's a big step for us in the short
Thank you.
time that we've been
You're welcome.
doing this.
Thanks, Jim.
Anna also was on the phone call with us, so.
Thank you both. So let's also talk a little bit about the tool lending program. If, if
I'd love
that,
to talk
Yeah,
about
go right ahead.
what so I've been in contact with, the former library director, but also the librarian at the library who manages the Library of Things. And so we've had conversation. I also got in contact with Library of Things, some Library of Things people across the U.S., just friends of mine and friends of friends, to ask what tools were usually being borrowed, like what is in the highest demand. And then I went through and built pricing list where is like, what do I think a collection of these things might cost? And so I was going to propose that we authorize up to $3,000 for the library to buy things that would be useful in repairing people's homes, that would be lent through the Library of Things lending program that the library already has, and feature a little sticker that says, sponsored by the Middleton Affordable Housing Trust, or similar, just identification, so that we can.
So,
only thing is-
one thing I'd ask is,
We get state aid at the library for these things.
well, you do
Oh,
get
is
state
that-
aid, but this could be,
We get
this could
state
be
aid at the
dollars that are
library.
provided directly to support in addition to that. So,
That's the only thing I wouldn't want to.
no, I think this, no, I think this is in addition to.
Yeah, that's in addition to.
Yeah.
One thing I'd ask is, and I think the library may have some insight on this, so, and I don't know what's on your list of items, Beth, that you've been proposing, but let's say one of them is a, DeWalt skill saw. Like, does the town have a liability here?
That's one of the
We-
biggest, that's one of the biggest things that I
Yes,
was worried about.
definitely.
Yes, I had-
The tool lending process.
I had asked about that and making sure that we have a ironclad, that in order to borrow these tools, you have to sign a waiver.
Waiver liability.
A waiver of
Yeah,
liability.
waiver
Maybe we can
liability.
get council to draft one up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna ask council this
Right.
as well as they're reviewing
And the
this.
same thing too, is it should go with, there should be an age limit also. You can't have a kid that's 16 years old wants to
Yeah,
build
we're not giving
wants
a
to build a
16-year-old
friggin' skateboard ramp and wants to borrow a friggin' skill saw, no.
Yeah.
There'd have to be a age limit, age restriction on it.
So, I think that is a very reasonable amount. I think, it sounds like the library is aligned with this. And,
They have
just
facility
hope
to
it-
store it?
Yeah, so they would only purchase tools that they have the facilities space to
Right.
store, and
The only thing I would want to check, I mean, I'm on the library, library board as a trustee, I would only want to know, and maybe they've already told you, does it conflict with the state aid money that they already get for the library things? I wouldn't want that to be a problem. Did
I
they
don't-
ask you, did they say anything about that, Beth?
we didn't talk specifically about that.
I just
I think that would probably be
maybe
an
it would-
extra, it would just
I
be
think this
something
would be
that-
no different
It would just be a
than,
donation.
I think
that
this would be no
Right.
different than the Friends of the Flint,
Yeah.
or if,
But the Friends of the Flint, its sole mission is to get funds for the library, so that's their sole mission, and to be in
so we
existence.
have in the past had individuals that have donated
Yes.
dollars
There
and
was
items to
specific
the
things.
library that have had to be accepted. So
Right, right.
whenever anything
Gift.
whenever anybody donates a gift to the town, the Board of Selectmen,
That's right.
sorry, the Select Board has to accept that
Correct.
gift.
Verify it.
Correct.
So, but let's not forget, we are the Affordable Housing Trust, but we are also a division of the town of Middleton.
I just
the
don't want it to be a
government.
conflict.
Yeah, no,
Maybe you can
I
ask
agree.
the attorney.
We'll ask that question. as well.
I had, the conversation we did have is that they have a very long wish list of things that they've been adding to that, and so it'd be exciting to get to move up items that are associated with this, and
Oh,
so
sure.
the money, yeah. it would-
Oh,
So-
no question, we just
Yeah.
got to be careful of all the moving parts and the
So-
rules of accepting and this and that. as you
I-
mentioned.
I'm on the board of the library in the town that I have a home up in Maine. It's a, not a municipal-run library in Maine. Many of them are not-for-profit libraries. And I was asking the library director there about their library of things and if they have tools, and they actually do. Probably tools that I wouldn't want in our library. Skill Saw is one of them.
They're probably better at
But they
it, yeah.
actually do have a pretty hefty collection of tools that, and then I asked, how often are these being taken out? They said so much so that we are on a regular, like, replacement cycle because they're being used so much.
Neat,
So,
in a small library.
I have one clarification about just the financial side. So I don't know if it makes a difference to the trust or the library, but I think my preference would be if the library can tell us what to buy and the trust, like we could actually do the purchasing. That would be simpler on my end for invoicing, rather
That's a
than
great idea.
making like a one-time gift and then
Yeah,
trying
exactly.
to.
We shouldn't do
so
that.
Beth, I'd ask you, what do you think about, like, if there's items on this that we go to Rocky's Ace Hardware and ask if they'd like to possibly
Donate.
partner with us, maybe a discount that they could give, and
Yeah.
I'd be happy to say sponsored by the Middleton Affordable Housing Trust through support of Rocky's Ace Hardware,
One
South
of-
Main Street, Middleton.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. One other idea was there's several different brands of battery-powered tools, and we'd want to buy all the same styles so that when we replace batteries, they work for any of them. Reaching out to those companies and asking if they have programs where they have discounted options for this.
When I worked for a nonprofit, and we did donation to Essex Tech before they moved to
When they was
North Shore Tech.
North Shore Tech.
But where it was North Shore Tech, I went there. I worked for a nonprofit that helped out the automotive department, and they actually lent out tools from there. You'd have a key tag, put it on. It was scheduled to your house. You know, if they knew your address, whole 9 yards. We got a lot of donations from companies that were going out of business. Like when Ira Toyota decided to all of a sudden change from Ira to Ira Motor Group, Toyota had all kinds of lifts and tools and stuff they were just getting rid of, throwing them in friggin' dumpsters. And they brought a dumpster to North Shore Tech, and it had tools, nuts, bolts, brake pads, all kinds of stuff they just had in the dumpster. And they dumped it right in the middle of the driveway. And there's a lot of stuff you can do like that. I know people around here that, you know, their father or their grandfather's got a whole, toolbox full of tools, and there's kids that nowadays don't even know how to use the damn tools. They're just, all right, they're putting them online, throw them away. Something we could do, maybe get a donation for some of these tools that we could use, and, like we do it down in the American Legion. If someone donates to the American Legion, they get a tax exempt form. So you get a tax write-off, you get a tax exempt form, you write it off on your taxes.
So
something
same
like
thing
that.
here, if somebody donates something to the town of Middleton, they get a tax
Right,
exempt.
absolutely.
Like
So I mean, it's something we could put in a program of, with the library thing. If anybody
think
has
that-
any tools that need to be donated, or if someone wants to get rid of something, have a committee that can go look at it. Someone like me who, is experienced in tools my whole entire life. Brian knows how to use tools. I mean, and just say, yeah, we can use it. No, we can use a couple of these, maybe not that, something like that. And that might be a community outreach thing we
So
can
what
do.
I'd like to do is, if the board's willing to make a motion, if somebody would make a motion, it sounds like up to $3,000, and there's a potential that we can actually expand upon that if we get some partners that, whether it's a tool company that wants to provide, or a local seller of, or an area seller of that may be interested, that, instead of getting $3,000 worth of tools, we get $4,000 worth of tools.
Yeah.
So
Do we need to check things out first with the method with the library?
I don't think we need to,
You sure?
I
Okay.
gotta tell you, groups donate all the time to the library, so.
Right, but there's certain rules, but we have a policy in place at the library.
But this is the
too.
town, the Affordable Housing Trust, Maria, is the town of Middleton.
No,
It's
I know
not-
that.
It's not some not-for-profit that sits over
No,
here,
no,
it's
no,
the town
I
of
know
Middleton,
that.
so this is.
I'll make a motion to allocate
make sure.
$3,000 for supporting of donation of tools to the I don't know what we
Flint-
call
The
it.
Flint Library.
Yeah, Flint
Flint Public
Library.
Library. Okay, there's been a
for,
motion
lending policy.
by
second.
Jason, is there a second? Second by Beth. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, if any? Okay, that passes unanimously. Boy, we're chugging along tonight. Okay. Thank you for the treasurer's update that occurred prior to my arrival. North Shore Home Consortium Funds.
Yes, so I just wanted to share with you all that Middleton has an automatic allocation through the North Shore Home Consortium, which is actually, I believe it's federal funding from HUD.
The HUD, CDBG.
Yeah, and so we have that allocation. I believe it's determined annually. Up until now, we haven't really had a place for it to go.
Has the dollars been coming every year to the town?
No,
So we've never asked for it.
no. But I think you have to allocate it. It sort of bypasses the town, and it moves through the North Shore Home Consortium. I have followed up with them. I'm not that familiar with the funding, and so I did follow up about the logistics. But to my knowledge, we've never used it, and it's never come to the town because we didn't have a place to use it. It has pretty specific uses, but a lot of the things that we're talking about, the tools potentially and definitely the home repair program would be eligible uses. So our allocation as it stands currently, is around 3,000.
I thought it was 13,000.
13,000.
Oh, 13,000.
13,620, including a
Yes.
$409 administrative
Yep.
fee by the North Shore Consortium.
I had my numbers copied wrong. That's correct. So, if you all are interested in trying to pursue that, I can get all the information about that and figure out exactly what we need to do.
Now, does that mean if we used it for the home repair program through Essex County,
Habitat for Humanity.
thank you. Can't keep up with my mouth tonight. Would those dollars have to come from North Shore Home directly to Habitat, or would it come through us?
That's what I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the allocation, once the town has a program, they can have it in the town budget, but I can find that out.
Okay.
Yeah. The one thing that they did, I do think because it's federal funding, as they were saying, I was kind of guessing that this is likely what they use in Peabody to fund some of their projects, so there might be a few more
Yeah,
paperwork
PBD gets a
items.
direct CDBG allocation, so.
So that might
Probably
add a
the
little
same
bit
in
of
Lawrence as
paperwork,
well.
but yeah, I wouldn't be
Okay.
deterred by that.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
So items for future agenda, I think we talked about some of the items that we're going to have at our next meeting as we finalize the move forward. Promoting this program. So bring your thinking cap to the next meeting with some of those items. Harbor Light Homes info session, I know that Jackie was scheduling some time with them. The date that was originally going to be scheduled, I couldn't make. And then I think the meeting that she did have, an initial meeting with them, I assume you were at it.
Yes.
Did it end up happening? Because I thought it,
It did happen,
Okay.
at least one that I went to, and it was a pretty positive meeting, but essentially, Harbor Light Homes is kind of planning out their 5 to 10 year schedule in terms of affordable housing building projects, and they do a range of building projects, and they were interested if Middleton is interested in kind of having a joint conversation about potential opportunities. So I just wanted to bring it up with you all. They offered, the executive director offered to come and do like an info session, not like looking at specific properties or bringing up any sort of specific plans, because they're talking probably still 4 or 5 years out. But I wanted to offer that to you all. I think it would be great for them to come just to kind of share what they can do. They are a developer, but a non-profit developer, so there's some different things that they are interested in, and so if that's of interest, I want to get.
I would say it is, and I think this is an opportunity for maybe us to have a more than a singular conversation with them, with us. So at last night's select board meeting, our next select board meeting, we are going to be, anybody that's been following our board, just about every meeting, we've been talking about the soon-to-be vacant buildings and moving to some disposition. We made a decision on the former police station, well, soon-to-be former police station. Town meeting has given us approval. That property is going to be sold. We last night entered into a contract with a engineering firm to look at the fire station in terms of if the building is taken down, but the foundation and the underground storage that is there remains. Part of the reason for that is a lot of the operational structures for that library, i.e. everything for the septic and water and others, are actually housed in the fire department, not in the library. So looking at it as if we keep part of that structure, turn the top of it into kind of like a courtyard with a waterproof membrane on top, or does it make sense to just take the whole process down, build some structure for those operational aspects,
operational
like a small building, or otherwise. But our next meeting is, and we've already had the discussion about the old town hall. Our board has not kind of reached a consensus on this, but our next meeting is going to be probably our biggest discussion, which is Memorial Hall. What's going to happen there? Again, I can't speak for my board, but I think there's a wanted and interest of some type of affordable component that would happen either at that structure either in its current footprint or that structure in a different footprint, or maybe a different structure on the overall land that's there. That's an opportunity to talk to both Harbor Light. So I would say our next meeting on the select board is going to be the 28th, I think, of June, or 24th of June, sorry, the 24th. And we're probably going to, again in July, have a second meeting about that property. In addition, on the next meeting, we're having a discussion around Locust Street. Town meeting has given us approval for the sale of that property or the disposition of it. However, there's some interest on our board of finding a partner about something possible affordable, a lowercase or uppercase a, doing something different there other than 12 to 13 large 5,000 square foot homes. Is there an opportunity of doing something a little bit different? Maybe it looks a little bit like Brigadoon on a very small basis. There's not as much land there, something that's affordable. So I would say for Harbor Light, I think once the select board gets through those two discussions, then I think the opportunity is to maybe have a joint meeting with the select board and invite Harbor Light in, or have it here and invite the select board to our meeting, instead of taking a whole agenda of the select board, and have Harbor Light come in and start a conversation. I don't know. We may make the decision on Memorial Hall that we don't have enough buy-in yet to make a decision. And either way, that building's going to be mothballed for a while. But I think that's an opportunity of talking to Harbor Light, especially if they're putting together a 5 to 7 year plan. They may be able to parcel together the process. And, you know, there's been things discussed like tax increment financing and other tax programs to incentivize somebody that wants to do something there. And quite honestly, having a parcel of property now and being put on the tax rolls isn't a bad thing either.
Right.
So I would say Harbor Light, love to have an info session. Let's talk about that after the next two select board meetings, and that's probably a joint discussion.
Quick question, was there also a conversation about the old Council on Aging, what's going to happen to that
Yes.
building?
So there's a lot of discussions, because there's a plethora of ideas there. I know the commission, historical commission, is very interested in selling their current building behind the library and then moving into the old town hall. A lot of the discussions there are that building needs a tremendous amount of work.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and they own that building.
Not the town.
Yeah, there's some discussions about what is the town's cost there for maintenance and upkeep and so forth. What would be the historical commission's cost? Because they're actually not a committee of the town. They're a not-for-profit. There has been some discussion with at least one board member of turning it into some type of not-for-profit used building around art or items like that.
Council on Aging.
Yep, there's been some discussion among board members of we should sell it, but put some caveats on it of what's going to go there based on zoning, but also when the town sells anything that they own, they can put their own caveats of what goes there, regardless of zoning. Like, they can't have a caveat outside of zoning, but they can limit it even more.
Brian, if may I ask, so the Historical Society, or
Society.
I think it's called, I
Yeah,
forget.
society. The commission is the board.
Right.
The society is the not-for-profit.
So
I had it
they-
backwards.
That's okay. They own that building behind the library.
Yes.
So if they sold that building, I don't know what it would be worth. They can take those proceeds and add it to the Council on Aging building and use that to upgrade it, as you're saying it needs.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be enough to cover the, I have no idea.
Don't know. There was also discussions of, do they gift their current building to the town of Middleton because it's adjacent to
The library,
the
yeah.
library? And while there is, people may not realize, but in our parking lot at the library, some of the parking lot is actually the Historical Society's property.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Yep.
It is?
Yes.
It's the first 9 parking spaces on the left-hand side.
Not all of them, some of the
Just
parking.
nine of them. There's
That's a
nine
lot.
as you come in. If you come in where Mike's Liquors is and you take the right, it's the first 9 parking
the
spots
left.
is actually on them on the left.
On there,
What
that's
sort of condition is that building in?
not great.
It's a block building, it's,
The basement's bad. That's
Yeah.
where all the archives are, so it's a bad
Yeah,
spot for the
so-
archives.
so there's a lot more discussions that are
Yeah.
happening there. I mean,
Especially with what happens with the fire building, because if we maintain that building in some sense, they could move their archives there too. There's discussion about
there is
that,
some
right?
discussion about, and that's what the consultant's gonna be looking at, the
Yeah,
engineering
that's
consultant. I'll also state, with the current council on aging facility, the old town hall, the septic system is old. The retaining wall behind the septic system is starting to collapse.
That wasn't fixed.
No, the
That-
retaining
'cause
wall
remember,
wasn't.
that was gonna
No.
be fixed.
That was.
It hadn't been done, oh.
Because at the time, the expectation is it would also involve probably doing substantial upgrades to the septic, so.
I remember that, but I
Yeah, there
thought
was a
the town
decision
did
made,
it.
we know
Oh.
we're moving to a new facility, we're not gonna pour money into that
Oh, I
building.
thought we had to.
No,
because
there
it
was
crumbling.
finally work that was done on the front stairs
Okay.
and
Oh,
the
okay.
entrance, just because it had reached the point where it was a liability, but we spent several $100,000 on that, and
So a little bit of a
One of the other
Band-Aid.
biggest things too is the jail, the old jailhouse that's out back.
yes, and
That
behind
is-
there is the old tramp house.
Yes.
Which has been relocated there, and which does tie in pretty clearly with the Historical Society's work. If we were gonna sell that, do we move the tramp house a second time or third time? So there's a
Host of
a
things.
plethora of things to talk about there, and there's not any unanimity yet.
But the fire department is important building to know, because the council on aging could potentially go there to store their archives or something, so it depends too. what happens with
Well,
that
it's,
thing.
yeah, but I know there's a tremendous amount of space in our new facilities as well, so.
For that?
Oh, yeah, so, one thing, I'm always leery about holding on to property that you're not gonna use, because there's a cost to it, we gotta mothball it, there's a liability there,
Interesting.
and then, what happens when that retaining wall does finally collapse?
'Cause
I
it
mean,
will.
It will, it's gonna happen,
I'm
so,
yeah,
so.
yeah. Interesting.
so,
A lot of pieces.
but, the
But it's
police station is
possible
gonna be
that,
sold.
That putting a affordable component, if we were expecting housing to be built on one of those lots.
Yeah,
Not on the,
I would say the old town
housing.
hall is a very small building.
Yeah.
At best, maybe 2 units there.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I don't know if that is, if there's a developer or a not-for-profit that makes sense for them.
I mean, I would expect that building to be replaced if that was gonna be redeveloped, given just the cost of maintenance of current construction versus.
Well, the septic is, that whole wall, that was what, several $100,000 to fix that? Wasn't
I
it
can't
somewhere
even
there?
remember the number, it
I
wasn't
thought maybe you
cheap.
said 2, 3.
It wasn't cheap.
huge. No, I remember, I remember we talked about it.
So, but I think there's opportunity here between the Locust Street property, potentially Memorial Hall. Again, I don't know what directions, and we're gonna be soliciting public input on this. We had received a grant about 1.5 years, 2 years ago from the Mass Office of Business Development to do some visioning and some scenario planning for Memorial Hall. We invited a lot of members of the public in. It was really interesting, the responses we got. Some of the responses were, you should have a community or a senior center here. Well, we already have a senior center, and we're building a huge one down the
don't need
street.
another
Good
one,
idea. A youth center, affordable housing. One of the recommendations was take the building down and have Route 62 from Boston Street continue straight over. It was a great scenario. It didn't cost us any dollars. It came from state dollars back when we used to get state grants. But we have to make some really hard decisions, because next February, we're going to be out of that building.
Right.
We're going to be mothballing it. Mothballing doesn't mean locking the door and walking away. We're going to have to continue to keep heat on over there, regular checks, all activities that cost money. Okay, July meeting date. We have a meeting scheduled for July 2nd. So I'm going to ask the board, I don't know what everybody's July 4th holiday looks like, but it's probably going to be a lot of people that are surely taking a long
I will
weekend.
not be here.
And I will tell you, I probably will not be available. I don't know what anybody else's schedule looks like.
Well, I likely won't be available either. That's one reason I
So how about if we
flagged it
talk
on the
about moving
agenda.
it? Come up with
So,
some dates.
what would it look like if we moved it
ninth?
to the following Wednesday, the 9th? Or the Wednesday after that?
The 9th or the
The
16th?
9th is better for me.
Do the 9th.
9th, either one is fine.
We have some conflicts on the 9th. I have a planning board meeting and,
Oh, that's right, we have a
Oh,
plan.
they're more important to you, huh?
I mean, unless we
Have a
wanted
planning board
to,
meeting
we
for
could
the
start real early.
What
So if
time's
we
the
could
planning
wrap
board
up.
start?
The planning board starts at 7
7.
and we have a potential 6 PM, like a pre-meeting that day.
So, I don't know how much we're gonna have given
We'll have this.
on all of this. So,
With the
Just push
8th
it
or
off.
10th? Or do we just want to skip the month?
Want to skip the month and just do,
I don't wanna like
We
lose
skip the month,
momentum
we lose
on,
the Agreement.
so could we do the 10th? Thursday the 10th? What is,
Problem with me?
Yeah, I can check for space, but we should be.
okay, so let's tentatively call Thursday the 10th. We don't have to book a meeting tonight. We can
Pencil
call
it
that
in.
before. Everybody look at their calendars, see if that date would work. I'll also say, especially it's summer months, if you are on vacation or out of the office or hopping between New York City and San Francisco, we can always make a Zoom component for you to make that work.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll work with you, Anna. If you find that date and location, we can find a location,
Yeah.
we'll lock that down.
All right.
Anything else?
So that's potential, the 10th.
Just for the record, I already have one person who can use a new boiler. It was built in 1953, and they've been told they need to get it replaced, not repaired. They don't make them anymore, in order for them to have heat through the winter.
We should also look, this is where I think we also need to learn more about Action Inc. and where they fall
Yes.
and where this falls. I mean, I think I got a little bit of a flavor tonight, but I think there's going to be many of us that are going to have individuals that we think this may work for. So, I mean, I hope we have a problem of coming back at the end of this first year saying we've expended the dollars and there's, I mean, I hope we don't have that much need in town, but I'd rather have it than have a $100,000 fund sitting here that nobody's utilizing.
I think in this case, if we build it, they'll come.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
Okay. Okay, well, Richard, thanks for letting us spend some of your money tonight.
Only a third.
I would take a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
7:26.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned.